If you're watching this video, then that means you've already decided on a channel direction and you're ready to start thinking about what kind of content you're gonna be making for it. Now, I'm gonna be honest, this step is another place where a lot of new content creators struggle. What you need is a magical idea, an idea that is going to get people so interested, excited, and fascinated about you and your channel that they'll be sharing and subscribing by the thousands, even the millions. An idea so good that everyone who sees it will think, damn, why didn't I think of that? I know you're probably thinking that coming up with a magical idea is a pretty high standard for me to hold you to, but it's not as hard as it sounds if you have the right approach. The concept of just sitting down and coming up with a really good idea sounds sort of impossible to most people. They think that they need to constantly be coming up with 100% original content all the time. They spend forever racking their brains for a brilliant idea and they never get around to actually making anything. But coming up with something that is 100% original is not the only way that you can get to your magical idea. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. The difference between a channel with 6 subscribers and 6 million subscribers isn't that the second channel is run by some modern day Shakespeare who comes up with magical, incredible, original content all day. The difference is that a successful content creator simply knows where to look for inspiration, ideas, and insight. They know that the secret to great content is finding ideas that you can build off of. See, starting from scratch isn't really the best way to come up with a great idea. In fact, it's incredibly difficult, even for the most creative people. Instead, I recommend you start off by getting inspiration from content that already exists, the stuff you already know and love. That's the key to creating a magical idea quickly. Taking inspiration from other artists, seeing what they do and changing it to fit your own vision. That is called innovation. Now, some people get nervous about this process because they're worried that they'll be seen as unoriginal, as a hack, as a plagiarist. But there's a huge difference between being inspired by somebody else's content and straight up ripping off someone's ideas. Pablo Picasso, who nobody thinks of as anything besides one of the greatest artists of his generation, once said, "Great artists steal." Now, he was being a little bit dramatic with his language, but he's right. Look at a guy like James Cameron. His movies Avatar and Titanic were both the highest grossing movie of all time when they first came out. So it's safe to say that nobody thinks of him as a thief. But those movies are clearly inspired by work done by other artists. Avatar, for example, is a retelling of the story of Pocahontas, right down to the cliff diving and the prevalence of ponytails. But James Cameron set it in a new place, created a new group of characters to tell the story with, and introduced tons of new technology that help make this movie feel incredibly unique and original, even though it's basically just a new version of Disney's Pocahontas. And similarly, Titanic isn't a totally original idea. First of all, the Titanic crashing into an iceberg is a real event that actually happens, not an original story that James Cameron came up with. And the love story, that's just a retelling of Romeo and Juliet. And I'm not just making this stuff up. James Cameron literally said, "I pitched it as Romeo and Juliet on a boat." He didn't even pretend like it was an original idea. He sold it to Fox as a new Romeo and Juliet. But even though it's easy to connect the dots between James Cameron's inspiration and his finished product, would you call either of those movies ripoffs? Of course not. They're unique and original pieces of art. There's a word we like to use for this, and that is remixing. Taking inspiration from something that you love and putting a new spin on it. It's okay to use some of the big ideas from the original as long as you do something that makes your content clearly new and different. I want to emphasize that while it's okay to innovate, it is not okay to directly copy someone. Every so often, you come across something that feels a lot more like plagiarism than it does innovation.
Rock and I were raised with so many of the same values. Like, you work hard for what you want in life. That your word is your bond, that you do what you say you're gonna do.
My parents impressed on me the values that you work hard for what you want in life. That your word is your bond, and you do what you say and keep your promise.
The reason this speech got everyone so upset is that there's nothing added to the second version. There's no new information, no new perspective, no new thoughts. She's just repeating back the same thing that Michelle Obama said. That's exactly what you shouldn't do. Whenever you look at a successful piece of content, ask yourself, how can I make it mine? So use that original work of art, the thing that inspired you, as a jumping off point to do something similar, but different, something unique to you, something that innovates on the original. And that's the difference between plagiarism and remixing. You gotta take the big ideas, not the specific little things they do, take the big ideas and add your own innovation to it. So as you're developing your content, don't be afraid to look at what your idols are doing and use that as a starting point. It's much better and much easier than trying to come up with a brilliant idea out of nowhere. But you have to make sure that you go a step past that and innovate to create something new. This is a really important concept. So let's go back to my random altruist channel to look at an example of remixing. Once I had decided that my channel direction was going to somehow be related to philanthropy, I started watching every related video and channel that I could find. And here's what I noticed. Every single one of them made me feel really, really good. And the best videos weren't just, oh, I donated some money to this nonprofit to help someone. The best videos had a narrative. They told a story, and they did things like interview the people that were being helped. But I didn't stop there, and this is key. I wanted to do more than just imitate these other channels. I wanted to innovate on what they had done. So I started watching a bunch of stuff that was outside my channel direction as well. I wasn't looking for anything specific, just trying to find something that I could bring to my channel that would make it clearly different from all the other philanthropy and feel-good channels that are out there. One idea that really hooked me came from one of my favorite artists of all time, Banksy. Banksy is a graffiti artist and has always stayed anonymous. No one knew his true identity, and something about that really appealed to me. It also addressed one of the other things that I didn't like about these other philanthropy channels, which is that it always looks like the host of that channel is bragging about how charitable he or she is, even if that wasn't their intent. It just seems like they were saying, oh, look at me, I'm such a great person. So now I had three things: a direction for my channel, something I liked from other creators in that niche, and something I liked from a creator outside of that niche. I combined these three themes into a focused channel idea, which is an anonymous host doing philanthropic deeds that make the viewer feel good. Once I had that nailed down, then and only then was I ready to start thinking about what my videos themselves would actually be. Now, it's time to start brainstorming specific ideas by remixing everything you've been researching. These can be anything that seems like it would fit with your channel direction. And don't worry about coming up with the best idea ever or the most finely crafted one. The thing about ideas is that you need to go through a lot of bad ones in order to hit a good one. And that's just how it works. My general rule is that you need to write out 100 bad ideas to get one good one. The best way to handle this step is to just write down as many as you can. When you're certain that there's not a single stone left unturned, that you've approached this brainstorming from every possible angle, and you've come up with every single idea that you ever could, that's when you can go back through and start picking out the good ones. Let's take a look at my random altruist video ideas list. There are some really, really bad ones on here, but again, that's okay. And it's actually a good thing. You need to get the bad ones out in order for the good ones to reveal themselves. Start highlighting the ones you really like, the ones that get your imagination running, the ones that you can start to see shots already in your head. The thing about new ideas for content is that at the beginning, it's just as much an art as it is a science. Sometimes a great idea will turn out to be a huge success, and sometimes a great idea will turn out to be a flop. There's no surefire way to know which is which. So trust your gut, highlight the ones that feel promising, look over your list of top choices, and then just pick one. If you're lucky, your first idea is going to do really, really well. With the random altruist, I got lucky. My first idea, Christmas gifts for the homeless, was good, and it exploded to over 3 million views. But even though I picked up over 30,000 subscribers from my first video, my second video, the best gift for Mother's Day, barely cracked 50,000 views. Why is that? One possibility is because the first video was simply better at connecting with people than the second. Another possibility is that they were both really great, but the second one simply didn't get as much publicity and didn't get as much traction as the first one. And there's a variety of reasons why that could have happened. Either way, the point here is that I could have easily done my Mother's Day video first and failed. In fact, a lot of people fail, quote unquote, for many videos until they find something that hits. That's an important lesson. Any one of these ideas you write down could be the one that helps you stand out. So if your first few videos don't hit, don't give up. Go back to your list, pick another, and try again. Hopefully, you'll hit on something successful pretty quickly, but if you don't get discouraged. Remember, most people aren't making a plan of attack like this. By following this plan, you've raised your chances of success to be much higher than the average content creator. If you've developed your channel idea the way that we recommend, and you've got a list of ideas for that channel, then you pretty much have everything you need to be successful. Well, almost everything. You will still need some tools to make that video. So that's what we're going over in our next video, where we'll cover some myths and some truths about equipment.